I'm Gerd Leonhard, media futurist from Basel, Switzerland. I do a lot of speaking on the issues of media, technology, and content. One of the things that I talk about a lot is that, to me, data is the new oil. The data that's being generated by people clicking, forwarding, and essentially sharing things, that becomes in some cases more valuable than the content itself, because it creates a huge amount of meta content, as I call it, that becomes extremely valuable to advertisers and brands that want to talk to me. So if I choose to share some of this, I create enormous value. So we have $1 trillion marketing and advertising economy moving into wanting to get my data. I use the term Content 2.0. The web has created a system to where content is no longer the narrowly defined, professionally produced, high-quality content from some special people. Content is now all of that, plus the remixes, plus the tags, plus the forwarding, plus the social data, what people call the click trail, which web pages I come to, where I go to, creates a huge amount of content around the content. So if we're talking about content and using it, making it, selling it, we have to include all that other content as well. So the users themselves, for example in Twitter, they are the content. It's no longer the professional produced stuff, it's everything around it. So when we talk about Content 2.0, it's essentially a much wider definition of who creates, who uses, and who shares. And this is why the definition of copyright, as a result, is softening, because it's much harder to define ownership. Copyright on the web is under severe pressure from all sides, because on the web, everything is a copy. Listening, watching, cutting and pasting, everything is a copy. The right I have as the creator to get paid for the copy is completely softened, because in theory it's there, but in reality everybody does it. So copyright on the web as we know it is going to have to be expanded into what I call usage right, which means I get to remunerate it, but it's a copy or not makes no difference. I'm involved in the process of how the revenues flow from the use. In a way, music today is a utility. It's a public utility. It's like electricity or like water. Everybody listens to music. Everybody wants music. Everybody produces music now in different ways as well. But so we can't really act like music is a product in the same way, because it has become completely a liquid. Anywhere on the web, you can get music. So we need to change not just the business model, but also the way that we look at music is much more like water, in the fact that every house has a pipeline, but if you fill your pool every day, you pay extra. The same is true for music. Everybody should have a pipeline to use for basic use, but if you want only one artist released from last night in high definition, you pay extra. Basically what happens in the past is that a band performs and you get to meet them there, but otherwise the band is a product. It's pressed into plastic and you buy it, take it home. So it was what I call a productized industry. 100 years ago, before there was a music industry, you had to go and see them play, or you had to communicate with them somehow. And so essentially it was a very social environment. Now putting it onto a CD and shipping it around the world became an asocial environment, right? In the sense that you bought a product. And this was, of course, great for the industry, because it's so much easier to make money with a product. And that worked out great for about 60 years. What's happening now is that all of a sudden, because of the internet, we are back to social, right? So the music industry is once again, the thing that matters most is not to get a copy of the CD or the song, but is the contact and the network, right? So really the new industry is all about selling everything around the music. Basically my connection with the music is going to be embodied in my community around the music, the new friends I'm making because of the music and other media, my rating, my tagging, my keywords, what people call the folksonomy, essentially connecting to folks and people around it. And basically I'll be able to use all of the stuff around the music as a social environment, rather than taking a piece of plastic and only listen to that and it's only me, right? And I will make my selections of what to listen to based on what I see in my network. So the entire way of marketing, advertising is going to return to a place where what matters most is other people recommending That's already the case, right? But the word of mouth will be the word of mouse as well. So that will be very powerful for direct marketing musicians and bands. The days of fixed formats are over. Right? Fixed formats meaning 12 songs on one record. Right? That was not because of the musicians, that was because that's how big the record was. Right? On the web, we can have any format. I think what we're going to see is extreme snacking, 1, 2, 5 minutes, TV shows, movies, but also then very, very serious hardcore stuff of several hours. We're going to see it spread out entirely across that breadth of things. And the good thing will be for the artist, whatever format works for them, however much they want to put out, they can do that, right? So as a musician or a writer, I can write a poem that's 3 lines, or I can write an encyclopedia. So things are becoming much more available. The only limit is time. In the old days, just 20 years ago, the limit wasn't time, it was availability. Technology tools are essentially becoming free. The tools of sharing and uploading and remixing and the software like Acid or what they use in their studios, Avid, and really expensive software, that is going to become available to a lot of people by other software that's web-based. Like you can already go on the web and use something like Flex Pictures or so to create Adobe-like things, but they're only on the web. And the software is moving to the web as well. So if I want to remix a piece of music, I can already do that on the web. And I can rent the time with the program. Right? Now, the power of the network, I can have physical performances together with virtual performances. I can have people remix in different places. I can also, of course, use the network to source, crowdsource. The only thing that will really be much in demand will be really true talent, because technology does not create more talent. Basically, human talent is not dependent on production tools. Right? So the more good tools we have, the more garbage is going to flood, things that nobody wants to hear. Right? So basically, the good stuff gets floated up too, but at the same time, we have a tremendous amount of output. And so I think what it does to talent is it puts a lot of pressure on talent to be very unique, to be very real, because you can't lie on the web. People find out immediately. So my belief is that basically creativity is not boundless like the internet. There's people who have exceptional talent, and there's lots of secrets to that. And that won't change. It's essentially chemistry. Artists now have a lot of possibilities to do different things. Artists usually do sort of unintended things or chaotic things, and the nature of the web supports this. So all of a sudden we're seeing artists playing with software that creates something else that people use somewhere else, like a mashup that they didn't intend. And because of the viral nature of the web, all of a sudden, like using APIs, program interfaces, people can actually use the property of others. In fact, the BBC's headline is, use our stuff to make yours. Right? So the whole idea is saying, what I make is available to them and vice versa, and that creates a much larger output of artistic activity. So I think what we'll find is we'll find creativity that we haven't seen yet, including multidisciplinary, across all different genres of music, filmmaking, remixed together, in the sense of artists who use all of these things.